What's going on, guys? Car review guys here. My name is AJ, and today we are with the 2024 Nissan Versa SR. This is the highest trim level of the Versa, and you are honestly getting a lot for a brand new car that is roughly $22,000. We'll be going through all of the details on this. This is the full review. Next video is going to be 5 things to love, 5 things to improve, and of course we try to compare apples to apples, not apples to oranges. So we are going to start with the cinematic, if you are new to my channel, and then we are going to go to the exterior, talk stats, figures, all the things I think you would want to know, and then we are going to be jumping in the inside, looking at the interior, and then we are going to take it on a drive. So without further ado, let's roll. Starting with some of the stats and figures, this Versa SR has a 4-cylinder pushing 122 horsepower. Transmission is an Xtronic CVT. Drivetrain is front-wheel drive. Curb weight's coming in around 2,717 pounds, and it's going to be pushing this SR from 0 to 60 in about 10.3 seconds. Now, gas mileage is obviously important. You are looking at 32 city, 40 highway, and a combined average of around 35 mpgs, and your fuel tank size is 10.8 gallons. Vehicle dimensions, overall length, as we're here at the side profile, you're going to be looking at about 14.75 feet, and the width is around 5.7 feet, and your height is about 4.8 feet. And pricing, lastly, is starting at around $16,390. That is for the base Versa S, which, by the way, comes in a manual transmission. Tester today is going to come in at around $23,000, and that is including the destination charge. Let's point out some of the features you may or may not have noticed. You have an LED runner, you have LED headlamps on the SR trim level, and then coming around, you have some pretty good looking wheels, if you ask me. I really do like these. They look stylish, and that's one thing to keep in mind, right? Like, this is a vehicle around the $22,000 to $23,000 mark. Think about what you used to get. It used to just be generic, bland, didn't look good, just someone wanted to get from point A to point B. Now they're going for stylish as well and functional, right? Nice bright LED headlamps, not something you used to be able to get unless you were on a high trim level. Now, coming over to the door, you can see that there is keyless entry. It is on the front doors only. Coming around to the back, one detail that you probably didn't notice at first, especially from this far away, and I think it is pretty neat. It's on the interior as well. Hopefully you can kind of see it here. It's almost like a carbon fiber look. I'm going to try to move it around. Pretty cool little detail from, you know, even here. It's kind of hard to tell. In person, you can actually see it still just a little bit. On camera, I'm not sure if you can really see it at all. Nonetheless, in order to pop the trunk, you can come back here underneath the Nissan emblem, press up, and here is the trunk space. It is a good bit of space. I'm going to put the cargo footage here so that way you have the exact dimensions in cubic feet, but definitely usable space. The fuel door is located over here on the driver's side. I think that's pretty much going to be wrapping up the exterior. I am 5'9" for those of you that are new to my channel, and I always test getting in a vehicle. Is it easy? Is it not? Well, we're about to get into the rear and test that right now. Okay, stepping into the rear. Got a duck for sure, even at 5'9", but again, not a big car, not supposed to be. But once you're back here, it's not bad. The roof does slope back here, so I literally, my hand barely fits in between my hat and the ceiling, or roof, ceiling, my goodness, whatever, you guys get it. And then down here for legroom, I've got probably 2.5, 3 inches, somewhere in there, and that is where my seat is sitting to drive. You have a USB-C right down in the middle, and there is no cup holders or center fold out. You do have a pretty cool little design on the interior. And then just touching on materials, as stated, you can kind of see like this carbon fiber type of look. It's also on the rear. And even on this, where your elbow touch, it is fairly soft. Get it a little bit better lighting so you can see the contrast stitching as well. Jumping up into the front, let's test this out here. Definitely much easier, much faster. I'm sure you can even tell just me getting in it. Again, the front door, similar to the rear door, you have that same pattern and soft where your elbow touches. The driver's door is the only one that is automatic for one touch. The rest you will have to hold. You got a little cubby hole over here, and then again up here, kind of continuing that carbon fiber type of look. Again, I do like that. And then for me, I always remember whenever the new Maxima came out and it had the flat bottom wheel, like 2015-ish, somewhere in there. And I absolutely love the flat bottom wheel. They have carried that into the Versa, which looks nice. Steering wheel actually feels pretty nice for a vehicle that is around $23,000. Again, really good. It's softer than some vehicles that I've had that are literally $30,000. So it's still pretty hard, but it doesn't feel like a little tight steering wheel, which is nice. Over here, you've got all of your different media controls and obviously controlling the half digital portion over on the left-hand side. The right, your speedometer is obviously analog. Over on the right-hand side of the steering wheel, you have adaptive cruise control, which is nice. And then you've got the center screen here. As far as responsiveness, I will just touch something and then you can kind of see how it works. I think it's actually pretty responsive. It's better than some vehicles, once again, that have been in the $30,000 range. It's nothing fancy, pretty simple look, but it definitely works pretty well. Coming down here, you've got a single zone climate along with some heated seats, USB-A, USB-C, and then down here we do have a wireless charging pad as well. Your start stop button, and then of course a pretty standard gear shift, and then not something you see too much anymore is an actual hand e-brake. Most of them are electronic now, but I actually really like these. I wish more vehicles would keep them in there. And then 2 cup holders, and then your center console, it's rather small. As you can see, there's also a USB-C. Up above, optional, is the home link, so there are 3 buttons there for your garage door. I think that's pretty much going to cover the interior. I think it's time we get this Versa SR out on the road. As we get this Versa SR out on the road, I want to note, once again, we are trying to compare this apples to apples and not apples to oranges. I have seen other reviewers on this vehicle, and a lot of times they're not realistic. Again, the price tag on this is around the $22,000 to $23,000 mark. So you got to compare it to other vehicles that are in the same price range. If you're going to compare it to a $30,000 or $40,000 vehicle, you're probably going to disappoint yourself. You got to understand current market and where we are with that in the comparison, right? Because even still, people also bring up, well, 5 years ago, I could have got this. Okay, well, guess what? It's not 5 years ago. So in today's market, compared to other vehicles in similar price points, the first thing that I noticed, if you will, isn't even in the driver's seat. It was the headlamps. LED runners, LED headlamps. That is something that I am not used to seeing on any vehicle of this size. There are some others out there that are also now doing it, but it's one thing that definitely stood out whenever I saw this Versa. The last Versas that I really had any experience with was like in 2015-ish, whenever I was in college working at Enterprise, and this is absolutely a massive upgrade from back then. As far as power goes, obviously not too fast, being around a 10.30 to 60, but you're a gas saver, right? So this is probably, you're buying this to have a commuter, and it's good enough for being a commuter car. But yeah, don't expect to be, getting in any speeding ticket trouble. If you do, that's impressive. Now, as far as the front wheel drive goes, like whenever you step on it, granted, there's not a ton of power, it doesn't, I can't even hardly get this thing to spin its wheels, which is kind of funny because I remember being able to spin wheels in the old Versa, like back in like 2015, and it's kind of annoying, right? Like it's already not very fast, and then you're not even going whenever you need to go. So whatever they've done engineering wise, they've certainly improved that as well, to where you can literally just smash it straight to the floor and there's no wheel spin and you actually move. So that's good as well. Wind noise is really good for a $22,000, $23,000 vehicle. Like here, listen. You can't even, like, I can barely hear them. Now, what you can hear is the tires. The tires are a little bit noisy. I'm not sure if there's just less sound deadening on like the bottom of the car. I don't know. It's, again, certainly acceptable for the price range, but it is something that is present. Now, coming up here, we're going to talk on suspension and the noise as well. It's a cattle guard. We do it on every single vehicle. Here we go. I know I'm going to keep beating the price, but for a $22,000, $23,000 vehicle, the suspension right there is probably a top 10, maybe top 15 of every car I've ever gone through there. And that's, some of those vehicles are well into the six figures. So pretty good. As far as noise, again, the tires are a little bit noisy. That's the one thing they could probably refine. Is it bad? No, it's not, especially for the price, but it is something that if they wanted to improve, they could probably just a little bit. Now, blind spots. Over to our left, the pillar is really skinny, easy to see out of the back window. Over to our right, easy to see, a lot of windows to look out of. The one that actually gets me is this front pillar. It kind of comes out at an angle so far in front of you that you gotta watch when you're like taking a left in an intersection that it's actually not blocking the view of a car. So just keep that in mind. And this vehicle does have blind spot monitoring if you need it. I think in summary, obviously this is nothing fancy. However, if you're looking for a car that's going to get you from point A to point B, not break the bank, and still have a solid ride quality, this is definitely an option I think you should consider. Go drive it, and I think you will probably agree, for the money, it's pretty good. Again, next video is going to be 5 things to love, 5 things to improve. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. We just hit 20,000 subscribers. Thank each and every one of you. Sincerely, never thought we'd get here, but we are, and we're going to keep going. So if you wouldn't mind, join the journey. And the next video, 5 things to love, 5 things to improve. So stick around, and as always, I'll catch you guys on the next. Peace.